Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome once again to my channel, Just Business. Hope you guys had a great weekend, and hope you're ready to start another lesson. So today is going to be lesson number 2 of our Intro to Economics series here on Just Business. We're going to be focusing today on opportunity cost and how this actually works in an economy and how businesses use this to get a better understanding of the resources they're producing and the efficiency of it in their economy. So before we get started, of course, if you could please subscribe to my channel so you can keep up with everything going on in the economy, lessons, explanations, discussions. All you gotta do is subscribe and you'll have all that at your fingertips. Also, if you could give this video a thumbs up, it lets me know that this video was engaging and maybe helpful to at least 1 or 2 people. If 1 or 2 people kind of get a better understanding of some of these difficult concepts, then I've done my job and we're actually moving forward in the right direction. So go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. Let's get started. So I know we touched on opportunity cost in a previous video. I gave you sort of a ground level definition of what it is. But you may still be wondering, what does this look like on a graph? How do businesses utilize this information? What's it good for? Well, that's what we're going to discuss today. So what I'm going to do is switch over to my handy dandy notebook here, where I've got a graph drawn up, and I'm going to explain to you opportunity cost on this graph. But before we do so, I do want to give you a term here, which is absolutely fundamental in ascertaining this information, and that is production possibility frontier. So what exactly is that? Well, it's a sort of graph where we can understand the efficiency of products being produced within an economy. Businesses can utilize this information to get a better understanding of the resources that they're using and how efficiently they're being produced. Now, this is where opportunity cost comes in, because in order to produce more of one thing, well, you got to give up something, because there isn't unlimited resources in an economy, right? We've touched on that before. Understanding how to allocate very limited resources to the population's seemingly unlimited needs, and this can create a little bit of an issue. That's why we have so many problems within the economy, and why there's economists that have a job and do some of these difficult calculations that you don't have to. So, production possibility frontier. It shows us how these resources are being allocated, and it also shows us if we produce one more additional unit of something. Again, thinking at the margin, what is one more additional unit going to cost us? Well, that is your opportunity cost, and we're going to get to that here on our notebook, and we're going to get a good understanding of how this comes into play. So let's go to the notebook. Okay, so I'm now going to demonstrate for you how this would look on an actual graph. So this is a production possibility frontier on an actual graph here. I've already got it pre-made, and I'll kind of run through the labels and kind of how everything works here. So, of course, you got your graph. Up here, you've got quantity of cars produced, right here. And on this side, you've got quantity of bread produced. All right, now you'll notice a couple different points. We got A, B, C, D, E, F. All right, we also got H and G. Now, what are these exactly? So point A is the spot on the graph where if all of the resources are used to produce just cars, this is how many cars could be produced. So if all the resources in this fictional economy are used to create just cars, then 200 cars could be produced. If 200 cars are produced, 0 bread is produced, okay? If all the resources in the economy are used to produce just bread, 400 units of bread could be produced and 0 cars would be produced. Okay, so that's point A and that's point F. So what about these other points? Well, this is where the production possibility frontier comes into play. So this is kind of where the production possibility frontier can show you how products can be produced within an economy, given a certain amount of products. Again, we're only using two, just for simplicity of the exercise. So let's say in an economy, you want to create a bit of both. Well, this is where opportunity cost comes into play. So I'm going to explain this to you. It may look a little confusing, but it's actually quite simple. So let's go to point B. In this economy, you can't create 180 units of bread and still produce 200 units, of vehicles. It can't happen with the amount of resources that we have here. So what happens? Well, let's go down to this second point. So 170 units for vehicles. You're gonna dot that over here to point B. All right, so at this point, you can create 180 units of bread. But what's your opportunity cost? Well, it's 30 cars. You give up 30 cars in order to produce 180 units of bread within this economy with the current resources that you have. So now at this point, you can create 170 vehicles and 180 units of bread. Let's say you wanted to create more bread. Well, then we just simply go down to the next point here. So in order to produce 50 more units of bread, you now have 230 units of bread. However, you drop down to 150 units of vehicles produced. So your opportunity cost to create 50 more units of bread is 20 vehicles. So now you're able to produce 150 units of vehicles and 230 units of bread. And this goes down. So if you wanted to produce 70 more units of bread, well, what would you give up? We'll just go over here to the next point. Right? So now right here at point D, you've created 70 more units of bread. Now you've got 300 units of bread, 100 vehicles, so what's your opportunity cost? Well, it's 50. So subtract 50 from this, you got 100. So your opportunity cost at point C to produce 70 more units of bread and bring your units total from 230 to 300 is 50 vehicles. That's your opportunity cost. And that's essentially what opportunity cost is. It's just what you give up to create more units of something else. This could also be, done, let's say you're at 400. This could also be done the opposite way. Let's say you're producing 400 units of bread and you want to produce 50 vehicles, right? Well, what do you give up? So in order to produce these vehicles, 50 vehicles, this would just change. So you produce 50, and what do you give up? Well, you go from 400 to 370 units of bread, so your opportunity cost to produce 50 vehicles at point F will be 30 units of bread. You would recalculate, So you can see here that it's not too difficult to understand. Of course, this is just a hypothetical, very simplistic sort of scenario. However, it's not too difficult to grasp. And that's essentially a very rudimentary explanation of what opportunity cost is and how it looks on the production possibility frontier. One last thing to touch on here are two different points, point H and point G. Now what point H is, this is a point in which all of your resources are not being used efficiently. Alright? So point G is a point on the graph where this isn't possible. You don't have enough resources here to be able to produce anything at point G. Okay, so as you can see, a little bit confusing, especially if this information is a little bit foreign to you and you're not too well read on these sort of terms and definitions and concepts. But all in all, with a little practice, it's not too difficult a concept to grasp. One thing I do want to mention that I didn't really mention on the notebook was the 2 points, H and G. So a question that may be asked here is, point G, is that possible? Could we ever get to that? Well, yes, you can. That is possible, but only if something occurs in the economy, and that could either be advance in technology, or more workers, more effective, efficient workers. Those can actually expand the production possibility frontier. So for example, let's say you have a new technology, a faster, more efficient way of producing cars. Well, instead of being able to produce 200 vehicles, now you can create 300 with this new technology, these new resources. So that line where point A originally stopped there at 200, well, that line would then be able to go up higher to a new point, the new point A, which is at 300. On the other hand, let's say you find a new, better technology, a more efficient way to produce bread. Well, that line that was originally there at F, at 400 units of bread, let's say you can now create 6. Well, that line is going to expand out. See where I'm getting with this? And say you have more efficient workers in the economy, a better way to produce both of these. Well, then the line shifts out completely. So now you're able to produce on one end of the spectrum 400 vehicles or 600 units of bread. And then of course all these other points in between where you can create some of both given the opportunity cost. And that's how you can get to point G within an economy. Now, if that's a little confusing, if that doesn't make a lot of sense, or you need more of a demonstration of that, perhaps a visual demonstration of that, please feel free to leave a comment below, and I can definitely make a separate video showing how the production possibility frontier can actually shift out. So essentially that is the production possibility frontier, and a working example of how opportunity cost comes into play in the economy, and how economists utilize this information and to understand the efficiency of how things are being produced in the economy. So I hope that this video was somewhat instructional. Again, if there are any questions whatsoever, please feel free to leave a comment below. I can definitely go ahead and get to them and address those at a later time. Definitely happy to do so. So that's going to be it for today. I hope you learned something. Again, please subscribe to my channel. I'm going to be pushing out a lot of new content in the coming days. We've got a lot going on in the economy right now, you know, with the whole stimulus check and coronavirus bill. There's a lot to dive into, a lot we can touch on. So look for future videos based on that, in addition to other videos pertaining to business. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you next time on Just Business. See you later.